Governor Roy Cooper has issued a state of emergency across North Carolina ahead of any impact from the remnants of the storm.
Now, that activates the state's emergency response plan and allows preparations to ramp up ahead of the heavy rains that we're expected to see. WECT's Michael Pratt's heard from Governor Cooper today, and Michael, his warnings are pretty much related to the potential of flooding problems.
Yeah, John, and while he is cautiously optimistic that we'll avoid any flooding issues, he says being prepared is key. We've seen firsthand just how damaging flooding can be here in southeastern North Carolina, but there's some good news. Much of the previous flooding has been due to rivers cresting and extremely high water levels. Right now, the rivers around our area are not nearly as high as they have been in the past, and although there's no stopping a storm, Cooper wants folks to consider their preparedness plans so they can focus on staying safe during the storm.
Sometimes we have these storms where there's just a torrential amount of rain in one particular place, and we have these flash floods that can really hurt. So we need to make sure that people are ready for this and any other storm event.
While we can't expect impacts from the storm, declaring this state of emergency is a largely precautionary move, and it will make it easier for the state to respond to any issues that may arise. Michael Pratt, WECT News.
Several school systems have moved to remote learning for Friday, when we're expected to see impacts from the storm. That includes Brunswick, Pender, New Hanover, and Bladen County Public Schools. Leaders in Columbus County and Whiteville City Schools plan to decide tomorrow morning whether to keep students in person for classes on Friday. Classes at Brunswick Community College also moved to remote learning Friday. All campus locations are also closed on that day.
Every black that I know, you need to fire him to start with. He's a snake.
Of Columbus County.
That's the voice of Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. An incredible phone call caught on tape talking about his African-American employees.
WECT just obtained a copy of that call, and we have now learned the SBI has opened an investigation into allegations of obstruction of justice at the Columbus County Sheriff's Office. Investigative reporter Ann McAdams has this exclusive story and joins us now with that recording. Ann?
Fran, on one end of the phone is current Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. On the other end is Jason Souls, the man who previously served as interim sheriff while officials settled a dispute over the 2018 election. We should warn you, there is some graphic language in this call. Sheriff Green says, quote, he is sick of these black bastards and that every black he knows needs to be fired.
If I had to fire every mother out, guess what? I'm tired of this. They ain't happening no more. No God more.
That's the voice of Columbus County Sheriff Jody Green. He won his seat by 34 votes in an election that was so highly contested he'd been temporarily removed from office while officials settled the election disputes. That was the setting the night Green called acting Sheriff Jason Souls, saying their office had a snitch.
Immediately after being appointed the interim sheriff, started to get a lot of phone calls from Jody late at night. And this one particular phone call that we received, he made the comment that he hated Democrats. And then he said, I take that back, I hate a black Democrat. And I knew right at the end, I was like, wow, this is coming from the sheriff. And I had to start recording those conversations.
Former Sheriff Lewis Hatcher was the first African-American ever to serve as sheriff in Columbus County. Green says on the call he's specifically concerned that people in his office are leaking information to Hatcher and Melvin Campbell, another African-American officer Green fired shortly after taking office.
It's stopped. Tomorrow's gonna be a new day. I'm still the mother sheriff, and when I'll go there and fire my goddamn self. Them black bastards. They think I'm scared. That's stupid.
It gets worse. After the sheriff explains that he's getting phone records from Verizon to trace anyone in his office who's called Campbell or Hatcher, he lets Souls know the plan.
We'll get the snake's head off. Period. And Melvin Campbell's the biggest snake as Lewis Hatcher ever dared to be. Every black that I know, you need to fire him to start with. He's a snake.
Former Sergeant Melvin Campbell said he was so surprised when he heard this recording of the sheriff talking like this about him, he had to listen to it twice.